Welcome back, everybody. And welcome back, Christie.
It's good to be here, Dan.
Good to be here today. Thank you for inviting me to the show. My honored
I'm so
guest.
honored.
My goodness.
I'm so honored.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Belle is wanting to play. Sorry.
she wants to play. Yeah.
Not now.
As usual.
Not now.
So, March 11th. And, I not just today, but I've been thinking like this year, it's March. And there's a lot of things that I wanted to get done, and I'm already starting to think like it's March. Some things have not been done yet. Some things are moving. We're well into the process of starting a business, a family business. Did we share anything about that in this podcast?
I don't
Should
believe
we?
so.
Why not?
Sure.
So, those of you that are local to where we live in Central North Carolina, we are starting a healthy optioned vending company. And we got a name now. I don't think it's a problem to share it. It's currently in process. We're waiting for the North Carolina Secretary. If you're the North Carolina Secretary of State and you're watching our podcast, please hurry up. I need you to finish my trademark and LLC application because we have some deadlines we're trying to meet. But yeah, so I'm waiting to hear back for our business and getting our employee identification numbers and all that. But yeah, we're starting it's going to be high-tech vending, but the focus is going to be on offering some healthy options. And it's just funny because when we first researched this business and started talking about it, the business was supposed to be like healthy. I'm thinking like salads and like all like natural stuff and in the vending machines. And that's definitely what we're going to try to do. But the
Not
more
salad so much, but
no, they have a salad module you could buy. We're not doing that, but
okay.
Because that takes a whole different set of requirements and stuff. But the company we're working with, it's just funny because this happens like everywhere. And it's a good company. I don't want to even dog them. Maybe I won't even say their name now that I talk like this, but it's like labeled as a healthy company, healthy, option vending, which again, that's what we're going to focus on. But we're going through like product pricing and marketing strategy training, and they're telling us, we got to go, here's a sample list of products that are successful. And it's like Snickers and Cheez-Its.
Doritos.
I'm like, wait a minute, this is supposed to be a healthy option. But apparently that's what people want.
Well, I'm not going to say what I was going to say because it's going to be controversial.
Well, it's really interesting. Human psychology, man, Chris, we're all over the place. But this actually,
I can't even I want to go there and I can't. I won't go there because it gets a little political. So I'm not going to.
All right, I'm not going to go political, but this is like human psychology. That's fascinating. People want what's the word I'm looking for here? They want the image, the profession of healthy. They don't really want to be healthy though. So I bet you, and we haven't placed our first machine yet, so we don't know. They may be a giant flop, but we've talked to a lot of operators and it seems like it's a very successful business. But my guess is our machines will outperform, Pepsi machines or Coke machines or regular snack machines because they're labeled and wrapped with like healthy vibe, even though they're buying Doritos and Cheez-Its and Snickers out of them and Mountain Dews, which we're going to sell because we want the money. It feels
like a conflict of interest a little bit.
It did at first, but
you just but it is a business is what we've talked.
Business.
You and I have talked about this extensively. It is a business. So you have to sell things that make money.
And we have to, running a business is about meeting the needs of your customers, meeting,
needs,
wants, whatever. But going back to the fascinating thing is like, I think people they would probably prefer, thank you. They would probably prefer buying a Mountain Dew out of a machine that is all natural and healthy versus out of a Pepsi machine and probably pay more for it. Maybe that's a stretch, but we'll see. I'll report back after a few months of operating our new business. But
so we hope to have those placed like May, June is what our
spring. Yeah. So we've got I've got to head to Savannah, Georgia. I've got a training, kind of an onboarding training on the business systems at these machines. So these machines are all high tech and connected to cloud and stuff. So I got to go do some training. Me and my friend of mine, shout out to you, Jazz. We're going out to Savannah, have a good time, get trained on our new businesses. And yeah, so I'm guessing sometime after that, we're going to start negotiating deals and
Like for placement.
for placement. Yeah.
So, shout out to anybody who
Yeah. If you have a
has,
place,
like a hospital, a
lots of hungry
school.
people there.
Well, we have some family members in the nursing field. And one of the things that I was made aware of not that long ago is that, like, in the renal ward of the hospital,
What is it?
so it's when your kidneys are not working
Oh,
right and
yep.
you have, like, you're having to have dialysis. And
Dialysis. Mm-hmm.
sometimes that's connected to being a diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
And they're serving the people in the hospital
Junk. Sugar.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so even the vending machines, though, they don't offer
Well, because,
healthy options in the hospital. Like, so anyways, that's why I'm thinking of
yeah.
hospital, because one of a family member of mine who works in the
Mm.
hospital is like, I wish we had something like that.
Yeah, that's definitely one of our targets. So we've been doing some market research in preparation for it. But from what I've learned about this business, it's like they just a hospital just offers a big contract to some vending company, and if you think about it, a big hospital could have, boy, I don't think I'm exaggerating by saying 50 machines, maybe more in a big hospital between all the
Different
waiting
floors.
rooms. What does a big hospital have? 10, 20 floors in some cases.
I think
Baptist
there's like
Hospital here.
5 floors at
No,
Forsyth.
No, Forsyth Tower, it's got 10 floors.
You're thinking Baptist?
No, Forsyth, it has 10 floors.
Mm.
11, I want to say.
Mm.
Anyways, every floor has probably 2 or 3 waiting rooms. Each waiting room has 2 to 5 vending machines. Then they have the cafeteria, employee break rooms there's a lot of vending machines. So
Mhm.
typically they just sign a contract with some big vending company. And they just they're not thinking like, oh, this is the diabetic floor. We need to put health. They're just putting vending machines everywhere. But not us. We're going to be intentional
You'll
in
see.
selling our Snicker bars out of healthy vending machines. No, I'm being
Yeah.
facetious, but that is the journey where we're on. Interesting. So I can't remember if I mentioned this to you. So I went on an interview yesterday. I went,
To me?
if I mentioned it to
Yeah.
you, yeah, and to the audience. I know I didn't mention it to the audience
Yeah.
because
Because
it
I'm
just
going,
happened yesterday.
I did know that you went on an interview yesterday.
So I was in Gastonia, North Carolina. This kind of down southwest North Carolina, west of Charlotte, south and west of Charlotte. Anyways, I went on an interview to a factory there, and I was meeting with the owners, and we were walking the factory, and we came across the break room, and it was right at the time. The lady, she was one of the owners, one of the co-owners of the company, and she was asking, like, well, what's your next step? When are you ready to potentially start working? And I'm like, I'm ready. I said, kind of took a break since November and we started a business. And she's like, oh, what kind of business? I'm like, oh, it's actually healthy vending. And we're walking into the break room, the employee break, and it's lunchtime and it's packed. She's
Mm.
like, oh, she's like, I've been looking for new, better vending company, vending machines for this factory.
Mhm.
She's like, maybe you can put some down here. I'm like, well,
It's too far of a
it's too far.
drive.
Like, I can't service this place is an hour and a half from our house. So, initially I said, yeah, maybe, I told her, I said, maybe. She's like, oh, well, how will you service them? I'm like, I would have to hire somebody, which, is totally possible, but opportunities everywhere. Yeah. And shout out to you if you're an owner of, or a manager or director of a place that has a lot of people that needs healthy snacks. Hit me up.
Mhm.
Hit
Mhm.
me up. But if you remember at the beginning of the year, uh, Christie's amused by something I'm doing right now.
You're cute, that's all. I mean, you're just I'm just smiling because you're just so cute.
Good Lord.
You're excited about something, and it makes me happy that you're excited
I'm
about
excited about what I'm
something.
about to tell you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you remember my word for the year
Yes.
was execute.
I do remember.
And Christy knows this, but the audience won't necessarily know this, that I've been wanting to start. I have been starting businesses, but I've not gone all in like this in a long time. It's been a minute. I've started businesses. All right, so here's an insight to Dan's entrepreneurial mind. I'm very risk averse.
We've had this conversation, I
I
think.
think we have a little bit in the
Mhm.
podcast, but in terms of businesses, I'm
Mhm.
extremely, in terms of money, I'm
Mhm.
pretty risk averse. And Christy balances out. You've heard the story. We talked about Christy pushes sometimes me over the edge.
In
Sends
good ways.
sends me plummeting into financial
Freedom.
transactions. Freedom, thank you. In some cases, not all cases. Most
I
cases.
can't think of one that's not.
Well, I can think of some.
Okay. We should have a talk. We should have a talk, like,
Offline.
yeah, offline on that one because
No,
I don't know
so
what you're talking about.
um, just kidding, obviously. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I'm risk averse. So I've started businesses, and but most of all the businesses I've started, I've started multiple. Like I've had an e-marketing, internet marketing business, one that I sold for a handsome amount of money. Remember
Mhm.
shopandroid.net? I sold that
Mhm.
to a company in Florida.
And something like We Shopper?
I shut that one down organically because so I do a lot of affiliate marketing, a lot of internet marketing in general, which I still do some.
Mhm.
But those, they don't require a lot of risk, right? It's just your time you put into it, you hustle, and you build up some revenue, some income. And there was at times one specifically I can remember. Christy referenced it. That I built it up to thousands of dollars of income per month.
Mhm.
Exciting stuff. But anyways,
And this
all
was, like, 20 years ago.
20 years ago, I was an early adopter to. For those of you that don't know what it is affiliate marketing. So affiliate marketing is kind of um, easy way to explain it. I have a video I can link in the description where I explain it, but it's basically like you're repping other products for companies and you get a commission if somebody buys it.
Mm.
It's your sales, online sales.
Mhm.
So I did that, really successful. But again, all organic. It just took my time. And then I did the detailing products.
Mhm. You made your own
I made my own brand.
Carnauba wax?
I made
Is that what it's called?
all kind of stuff, not
Yeah.
just that. A car
Mhm.
care product brand. I developed a brand, moderately successful. Shut that down. I didn't keep up with it. Anyways, I did a lot of that, but I've always been hesitant to like go all in, invest a lot of money, sign a dotted line, where it takes a commitment. I've done real estate, but even real estate, like most of my real estate ventures have been more passive, where it doesn't take a big commitment. Financial commitment, yes, but this is a big deal, and it's because this is my year of, say it with me,
Execute.
execute.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah, and it
kudos to me.
kudos to you, Dan. And it also is
And
like,
you, and you,
yeah,
you.
well, I'm going, "Okay, wait a minute.
I'm
Hold up."
actually setting this business up
I
more for Christy
know.
to work.
I'm kind of like, "Wait a second. So once you
Secrets
get
out.
a full-time job, who's going to handle the vending machine business?" "Oh,
Yeah,
you and the kids."
Christy and
"Oh,
the kids.
okay. All right.
Well,
Thanks, Dan."
here's something I'm
Yeah.
sharing for you and for parents that I'm not saying do this, but this is where my thought is. Um, I think the typical middle class story for parents who are raising kids when they get to mid to upper teen years is go send them off to get a part-time job at your local fast food joint or a retail operation or something like that. They start making money, they save up money to buy a car, and they need the car to drive to the place to work, and they get into like the grind of the workforce. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
Mhm.
That's what I
But at
did.
a young age.
Sometimes, yeah, 15, 16 years old is
Mhm.
when, I don't know when you officially can start, but I know when I was a kid, I had my first job when I was 12, paper route.
Mhm.
I was a paper boy. And then my first
On your bicycle.
on my bicycle in the snow. I mean, literally like the whole, what is it? The paradigm's not the right word. Uh, I
It's
can't think. I haven't finished that second cup of coffee, but I literally deliver papers, 4 a.m. in the snow in New
it's
Jersey.
I was gonna say it's like walking to school in the
Yeah.
snow barefoot.
What is that when you say that? It's not a meme. It's a,
It's just what, um, people
right.
generations before us would say,
I
like,
know,
that they
but it's like
experienced.
an image, standard. Come on, people in the comments, tell me right now,
Mm,
what is it?
it doesn't really matter. It's okay.
It's going to bother me. But anyways, yeah, I did that when I was 12, did it for a year. Then I was working like in a outdoor furniture retail place where I was like a yard boy
Mhm.
loading cars. I want to say I started that. I wasn't driving, so it had to be 14 or 15, probably
Is it
15.
an adage? The
Oh,
old
well, now you're
adage?
stuck on it too,
Okay,
see?
I'm past it now. Just thought I would.
It's not
Okay.
adage.
Okay, go on now.
Um,
We'll be done with that one.
so yeah, my point is I did that and nothing against it, but what I want, well, part of their motivation with this business is, our kids, we have a 15-year-old and 12-year-old. One of them is right there at the age, instead of them
Frightening.
sending them to work for Chick-fil-A
Which is a great I mean, I could, like, live there. I love their
as a
food.
customer,
Right.
as an employee, I don't know. I've
I'm
never
just
been there.
saying, no, it's like
I'd rather my kids have opportunity to work for a family business. And, the goal is too, that this business, we can turn it over to our kids. When they become adults,
mhm,
if they, can fund their college, it can fund, whatever. It can teach them entrepreneurial. You're not flipping burgers. We can get them involved in the finance, in the bookkeeping,
mhm.
in stocking, and everything, purchasing. They can
Yeah,
understand how business works. So that's definitely a big motivation for this,
yeah,
for me anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was
So
saying with, homeschooling, this is
mhm,
part of their education. I
it
mean, I
really
really
is.
do consider it as
Yeah, that's the beauty.
such.
It's
Yeah.
one of the nice things about homeschooling, and uh, a lot of people have different views on homeschooling. Actually, I was just watching something recently on this, but this is the beauty of it, right? Gives us the
Mhm,
flexibility to make education what we want it to be, and in this case, more practical and hands-on. Like a public
mhm,
school can't do that. Not even a private school. Not even a good private school can go start a business and get your kids involved to teach them. No, that's
mhm.
something that only you can do through homeschooling.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think so because you have more time, right?
well, it's
Okay.
custom
Yeah.
tailored to your child's needs, and you really have the best interest at heart. But
Yeah.
yeah. So, anyways, execute. I'm gonna we're gonna start this business. Hopefully, it's successful, and we're moving forward. But it is March, and I feel like the pressure starts coming on here. Right, the year is slipping by us, and we have
Mm,
other things we're working on. We won't get into today, but some of them don't have as much progress as others. I'm still unemployed, technically speaking. We're fine, but you know, it. Yeah, want to see things move forward.
I like you being unemployed. I
Hmm.
shouldn't say that because, like, if I am a little superstitious, then I don't know. But,
You're more than a little superstitious.
like, you're just it's wonderful. You can be more involved in all of the day-to-day stuff. I'll just be, like, in the kitchen or working around, and I hear the vacuum start, and I'm going, "Oh, Dan's vacuuming the house." Like, this is amazing. I love
Well,
that.
there's times in this season. So I've been out of work since November. It's March now, middle of March, second week of March, and there are times where I'm like, oh, nice that I don't have meetings today and this and that. But I would say more times I'm like, ugh, I got to be doing something.
Well, you've been doing some woodworking. You're making a bookshelf
Yeah.
for our
Well,
son.
it just goes to show you how stir crazy I am. I'm just like,
No, you're not.
no, I feel it for sure. I may
Hmm,
not show it, but
you don't show it.
I definitely, um, I don't know. I'd be curious to hear from others, but, there's the law of physics that an object in motion stays in motion, right?
Mhm.
And, the more I slow down, I can definitely feel the lure to just make that the new norm. And
Mhm.
it's not just me. I talked to a friend of mine who's in a similar place in my life. He's a business owner, but he recently relocated to a different state, to our state, and left his business. It's kind of running autonomously. Pause another business, so he's in a pause period of his life, very similar to me.
Mhm.
And we were talking over lunch several weeks ago, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, "Yeah, I mean, there's the pull. Like he's worried too that you get trapped into. I don't want to say lazy. Lazy is a really negative connotation, but just slowing down.
Mhm.
And I'm 48. It's too early for me to slow down. I'm supposed to be pedal to the metal right now. So
Mm.
anyway,
Yeah.
maybe that's just the world influencing me. Maybe I should slow down. Sometimes I feel like I need to.
Yeah. So what was our topic today? Did you introduce that yet?
No,
Okay.
no, 20 minutes
Before
in,
you
and we
do
and we got to be short time today
I
too. So
know.
go ahead.
Before you
Yeah,
do, can I trouble you to turn on my heating blanket?
Christie's got a heating blanket.
I'm
Yep.
sorry. Is that okay? Just all you have to do is flip the switch, Dan. That was it. Thank you, honey.
Power goes out in the whole house.
Oh, Lord. So what was our topic today? Because we were going back and forth about a few.
Yeah. So I'd like to talk about this, and we won't be long today.
You got to be out the door shortly for
I got a meeting. Yeah.
a lunch
So I need to
meeting.
leave in like 10 minutes. So
Oh, really?
maybe 15 at most.
Okay.
So I've heard it said by quote unquote gurus online, and it resounded with me. It really stuck with me. This concept that how would I frame this up? So basically, the statement is you only need to know 10% more on a topic than your audience in order to be qualified to teach. And when I first heard that, I believe it was Alex Hermosi that said that. If you know who he is, he's an influencer that's big on coaching and training and stuff like that, business, entrepreneurial stuff. But it really struck me in all areas of my life because I am definitely one to keep my mouth shut and not share knowledge based on feeling inadequate, even though I may know a lot about a topic. In times past, I feel like I'm making a lot of progress here. By the way, I'm not here now, but I'm working on it. But in times past, I've struggled, getting up and speaking about a topic, or getting up and speaking is different because usually you're invited and somebody's giving you a vote of confidence by the fact that you're getting up and speaking. But I'm talking more like in a group of people. So in a group of people or in a podcast like this, I'm putting it out there where you're sort of not invited, you're volunteering to share knowledge. I've struggled because I personally don't consider myself an expert at hardly anything. There's really one big area I consider myself an expert in. It's kind of my professional field, which we won't go into, but I'm kind of the guy that's what is it? Jack of all trades, master of none. That's me.
Mhm.
So I've always struggled. But when I heard that, it was kind of profound because if I think about it, I'm like, man, that's really true and really empowering and challenging at the same time. And the reason why I thought about it is because, again, yesterday I was at an interview and I was meeting with the board of this company, these three owners, and one of the owners spoke up, and we were just kind of riffing back and forth about some of their challenges and how I could potentially help them. And he was saying how he values personally getting knowledge on the team, increasing the overall knowledge. He said, and he made the statement, his was more extreme. I don't agree with his number, but he said, all you need to know is 1% more to be able to lead and teach. And maybe the connotation was leading, but yeah, I told him, I'm like, man, I love that statement because I heard it in a different context and really believe it. And it's really been life changing for me. So
Mhm.
what I want to talk about just for the next 10 minutes is how that impacts you when you hear, again, the premise is you only need to know, the number is somewhat arbitrary, but let's just say 10%. You only need to know 10% more about a topic in order to share your knowledge, because the concept is you don't have to be an expert. All you have to do is bring them up to you, which 10% is value add, right? Let's say if you're
Mhm.
talking about nutrition and health. You're not the world leading thought out here, but you're just you know a little bit more. You discovered more. You read a book. You've done some practice. You have some life experience. Share that and just bring everybody up.
Mhm. How do you know that you know
I
10%
was thinking
more
of
than
that.
the person next to
Mm,
you?
yeah. Well, that's a good question.
It is.
I think if you, so. Okay, so here's my gut answer. As I was talking, I was literally thinking of that because I was like, how do you actually measure? And that's why the number is somewhat arbitrary because there's
Yeah.
no measure. It's not like you're going to go take a standardized test, but I guess
Just being in relationship with somebody you can kinda learn about, like.
well, it's two things, right? It depends on your audience.
Mhm.
You have to know your audience.
Mhm.
And number two, you have to have personal experience in that your knowledge was elevated and maybe somewhat recently, right? You could certainly be from your past, but if you share life experience, something that helped you grow or something that empowered you in some area, um, I guess the detail, the double click on that statement is go find an audience, if you will, that has not experienced that and help them experience that
Mhm.
through the knowledge that you gained,
Mhm.
whether that's from reading a book or somebody
Mhm.
taught you or just organic life experience, whatever
Mhm.
the mechanism is of how you learned. The challenge is open your mouth, share the knowledge, speak up, and bring everybody up. And the spiritual aspect of this is it ties to the Great Commission. And if I can be honest and vulnerable with our audience, there's been times in life where I struggled with the Great Commission because especially as a younger man, and I've got some actual examples here. As a young man, I remember thinking like, yeah, I'm just getting started. I don't know the Bible that good. And I've heard
Mhm.
this. A lot of people say this. A lot of people live
Mhm.
here. I feel confident about this. I don't know the Bible that well. What if I start talking to somebody about the gospel and they ask me a question I don't know the answer to? And how's that going to work? And you don't have to have all the answers. Just lead somebody up
Yeah.
10%, whatever the number is,
Mhm.
1% if you're the guy that I met yesterday.
I think that statement is freeing, that you don't have to have all the answers. I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to
Yeah.
know it all or have all the answers,
And be
but
right.
sometimes just listening to people
Hmm.
and being honest and vulnerable, as you've said, to say, that's a really good question, let's
Yeah.
study that out together.
Yeah.
And then you form even a deeper relationship and a more trusting relationship because you're not acting as if you know
Right.
all the answers. And it does, people who are like that, I feel like are, I shouldn't say, but their ego must be super duper huge.
It
And
if you can
they're
never
not
be wrong.
relatable. Like
Yeah.
you can't relate to somebody like that who's just never wrong and
Yeah.
who knows it all.
That's it.
And it's like,
That's
it
not
kind of
relatable.
makes you feel like, you know, I wouldn't want to be around somebody like that for too long. I can say that
Nobody
because it just
does.
makes you feel like less than
Right.
and almost like it's not normal for you to have questions about things, and
Mm.
also may make you not want to learn about a subject
It might turn you off.
because it could feel like it's too hard to understand or,
Yeah.
you know, speaking of the gospel, even, I mean, it's definitely faith is involved a lot. There's not a lot of, I mean, there is a lot of concrete, foundational things that you can build upon, but there is a lot of we walk with,
By faith, not by sight.
yeah, not
Yeah.
by sight.
Well, I
Like,
think the point is too, don't don't feel like you have to teach the intricate details of the complex areas of a topic. Always be open to just share the basics.
mhm,
And
let
and
people discover on their own.
let them get on the train, let them get on the
Mhm,
journey. And like you said, I love what you said, is offer them to go on it with you, on the journey with you.
mhm,
And if you're not confident in the answer, say, let's go on this journey together. Let's
mhm,
discover together. Let's study together. So, when it comes to the Great Commission, anybody, that's why Jesus says, go ye all, everybody, inclusive, and, preach the gospel. Well, the gospel is that Jesus Christ came to die. He is God incarnate in flesh. He came to die for your sins to free you. There's the gospel.
mhm,
And you don't have to get into, complex definitions of theophanies of God in the Old Testament and New. No, just leave that for the journey.
mhm,
Invite people on the journey with you by
mhm.
sharing the gospel.
Yeah,
Enough.
and when you say that about, you just shared kind of in a little snippet of, like, what the gospel is, but
Hmm.
that Jesus came to free us. Freedom looks different to me than it does to you.
That's right. So why even go there in your initial presentation of the gospel? Just say
Yeah.
Jesus came, God came in form of Jesus
Mhm. So we have to
to free you.
we have to figure out, what does freedom look like to
Yeah, that's
us?
great. Yeah,
And we can't impose that, our freedom. Like, we all have our different things that, we could use freedom from. You know
right.
what I mean?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. I love that. And so you said it's freeing, that statement, not needing to know anything. And I want to.
I think it takes the pressure off
It
of
does.
you.
Well, it takes it off, and I want to say that it adds a little
Okay.
bit. I
Okay.
wouldn't say pressure; it adds a challenge. But I'll get to that in a second. But I want to emphasize what you said too. Um, we're all around people that are know-it-alls, and not necessarily even just the gospel, but this certainly relates to people sharing the gospel. When somebody can't be wrong and they're always right, that doesn't build bridges. That breaks down trust, and it
Mhm.
breaks down relationship, and breaks down the connection. So, you know, this statement almost has the polarizing or opposite effect, the dichotomy of it, right? So you only need to know 10% more. Well, if somebody's at 100%, I've read years ago, I can't remember if it was in a book or just an article, um, in terms of IQ, that there is a certain, not to get too geeky on you, but there's a certain standard deviation of IQ where people can't relate. They don't get along well with people that are too far away.
Mhm.
So it's really interesting because in the context of this point, uh, just find people 10% and bring them up. Share the basic of a
Mhm.
topic. Well, again, whether that's the
Mhm.
gospel or
Mhm.
whether that's whatever, what have you.
Mhm. And find your 10 the person who's 10% above you. It's kind
Yeah,
of like the
great.
Timothy,
Mm,
you know?
Barnabas, Paul, Timothy. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're always looking for a mentor
Yep.
and be a mentor to somebody who,
Yeah.
yeah, so
So
it's biblical.
I'll close with the challenge portion that I
Oh
thought of
man,
here.
we're already done.
We're done.
Ah,
Yeah. So
I love talking to you.
oh, hopefully everybody likes listening to us talk.
Yeah. We'll do a longer one next time.
Yeah. Sorry about that,
Time got
audience,
away
but
from
I'm
us.
sure you're all thankful that we're
Mhm.
short today. But the challenging part of this is for me, if I could just relate, when I heard this statement, and I only heard this, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, but um, I feel like organically I had this realization 25 years ago, specifically relating to sharing the gospel.
Mhm.
It's that I don't need to know everything. But the challenge is it takes the excuse away. So the challenge for you, for me, and by virtue our audience here is what should you be sharing knowledge with to people
Mhm.
that you've not been because you felt inadequate, you felt like you're not an expert. And with this
Mhm.
realization, with this revelation, the challenge is go ye therefore and share, right?
Mhm.
And gospel, yes, make that the first thing. But there are other things that everybody in this world has to share to help people bring you up to their level. There
Mhm.
there is so much we can learn from each
Mhm.
other. And so I'm not saying go start a podcast, although you should. I've been
Mhm.
challenging a lot of people to go on this journey with us. But
Thinking of like, how do we know that like, how do we know what we like somebody we could just talk about something life experience,
mhm,
and somebody could be like, "Wow, that's, like, brilliant," or, "Oh, you've gone through that," and,
yeah,
like, how do we n like, what I'm talking about is feeling intimidated, feeling, like, lacking confidence, because
insecurity.
I think really truly, you may not you just may not know that what you've experienced in your life is actually something that can benefit somebody else. Like,
Oh, I
and
think you'll
that's not
know.
like self-loathing stuff, but that's like,
I think we lie
how
to
do we
ourselves,
that's
though.
what I'm saying. So
We
how do we
do.
get past that in our own minds where we can just say to ourselves like, "Oh, like that's not useful information to them. That yes, you lived through that. You did that."
I think if you, for me, I can only share how that statement, this concept, that how it affected me. It by just hearing me say that, hopefully it has the same effect on everybody.
Mm,
It, totally breaks down that because you know what you're lying to yourself about, that, oh, I don't know, I'm not this per usually it comes from comparison, right?
mm,
So let's say I'm teaching, a little bit about real estate, which I know I would say at least 10% more than the average public around real estate investing, probably more than that, but I'll say 10%. Well, I'm no, uh, you know, big time global billionaire real estate investor, not even close, you know, but I definitely can say after hearing this concept, I might not have 3 years ago, but after hearing this concept, I know more than 10% than the average public. I
mm,
realize that if I give an average, if I get 100 people off the street, there's going to be some people that probably know more than me,
mhm.
but most people don't. And so my challenge is share that.
So,
Don't be the parable of the talents where you take that, what God has given you. That's not just money, it's wisdom.
mhm,
And if God has given you
mhm,
and you're burying it by keeping your mouth shut because you're not
mhm,
you're not the 5 talent guy, you're the one
mhm,
talent guy. Well, Jesus calls in the parable that guy a wicked and slothful servant. And
mm.
so share.
So practically,
Okay.
make a list of the things that you would consider yourself kind of good at?
You're a list
Or
maker, so I'm not saying that's wrong, but my Dan's
like,
way.
because otherwise I don't know how I would be intentional in
Oh, I
that.
think there's just one thing that pops in everybody's head immediately when they hear that,
Mm,
and focus on that one thing. I cannot
mhm.
believe that anybody that hears that statement doesn't immediately go to one thing that they're like, "Oh yeah, for sure."
Yeah. I hear you. I'm
See?
just no, I hear you, and I'm saying
Focus
this
on the one
I'm
thing.
not saying this for myself, I'm saying this for other
Oh
people
yeah.
who
Yeah, yeah,
no, it's
yeah.
true, yeah, for other people who could struggle with what do I really have to
I
offer,
understand.
you
I
know? Like,
understand. I will.
so I'm saying really very practically
Yeah.
speaking. So if there's something that you know, are you maybe it starts with a passion, something that you're passionate
I would
about.
say go to the one thing. Go to the first
Mm.
thing that comes to your mind when you hear that statement, because that's probably the thing. And if there's 2 or
Oh, well,
3,
yeah, I have, like, 2 or 3, and
that's
I don't
great.
but there's one that I'm like, I don't really want that to be my thing
Well, that's
because
usually
it's
how it is.
complicated.
That's
That's a
usually how it is.
complicated topic,
I know. That's usually
you
how it
know?
is. Yeah, totally.
So
Totally. All right, I
anyways,
have to go.
I know.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you,
Okay.
Christy, for humoring me. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Back next week with a longer podcast. See you all.